Hey party people, two-footed ass kickers, how's it going? My name is Amanda Gold. I run a business called Kick Ass with Both Feet, which is life coaching, but that's basically the promise, the goal. I want to help you kick ass with both feet. And there's lots of things that means to different people, but essentially it's being all in on your life and not letting anything hold you back and having a great time while we're here and doing all the things you've always wanted to do without any sort of bullshit getting in your way. And usually that bullshit comes from within. The call is coming from inside the house. It's our own negative thinking and our shitty feelings that are blocking us and holding us back. And so I help people overcome that stuff and think better thoughts and move forward and move on and live exciting, amazing lives. And I've done that for myself. And so today, it is Tuesday, right? Yeah, oh my God, I just had this thought where it felt like a Thursday, whatever, if a day of a week can feel like anything. When you're self-employed, it all feels like Friday. Anyways, okay, so I do a thing called the weekly TIT on Tuesdays. And it's called the weekly TIT because TIT stands for Try It Tuesday. But I just like saying, here's your weekly TIT. And what I do is I give you something that you can practice and try. It's kind of a challenge, or it's a practice, it's homework. It's something that I do, it's an exercise I've done and seen great results with, and now I'm offering it to you for free to go out and try it, and it will help you kick more ass. So this one's exciting, and it's actually got me a little nervous because it is asking me to be a little bit more vulnerable and open than I usually am, because it's around body image stuff and I'm still kind of in the thick of all that, but I've definitely made a ton of progress and I want to share it with you. I've decided that it's worth being a little nervous or uncomfortable if it will help even one other person, because I have suffered with the body image stuff and hating myself and hating the way I look and worrying about it and dysfunctional eating and disordered eating patterns and overcoming all that. And it's exhausting, and it was taught to us. It's not even like we're doing this shit because we have to, like it's a fact or whatever. We were just told from the time we came onto this planet, most of us, that, you know, in indirect and indirect ways, explicit and implicit, that we're not good enough the way we are, and that our bodies are for other people to look at and approve of, and that most of the time we have to disapprove of them, and we need to change them, and we need to shrink them, and this is all bullshit, but it feels real and true. And so I want to share a way that I've broken out a lot of that and found a lot of freedom and joy and just like love for myself and compassion. And this is one of the sweetest feelings. If you're struggling with body image issues, if you've got parts of yourself or the whole self that you're hating or picking on or trying to alter, or just feel like it's not good enough and you're lamenting it in some way, I just want you to know that like working to overcome that is so worth it, because the feeling on the other side, it's not just like, okay, I'm accepting how I am, but it's this softness, it's this love. It's like, for me, it's come through as an apology, almost like apologizing to myself for being so hard on myself for all that time. And there's this beautiful release and freedom when I just let myself off the hook and let myself look the way that I look and feel the way that I feel and be in this body the way that it is, and nourish it and take care of it and not try to punish it and hate it all the time. That sweet feeling, when you start to feel that, it's like rays through big gray stormy clouds, like those beautiful sun rays that shine through and look so magical. That's what it feels like. And so it's worth the slog. And this kind of work feels like a slog a lot, meaning like you're trudging through, meaning it doesn't change overnight, meaning it takes intention and practice and work, but it's worth it. And I'm here to share a tip that will hopefully help the work go easier, maybe even a little quicker for you, because it really helped me. But it took me a lot of years to figure this out. I just only recently kind of pieced this all together and came up with like, oh, this is a tool that I could intentionally teach and I could have practiced. So what it has to do with is figuring out the part of your body that you're really hard on, or that feels really unacceptable. For me, there's always been a few kind of go-tos, and it changes, and that's kind of the fucking bitch of this work, or this dysfunctional diet culture stuff, is like, as soon as we think we like fixed one part, then we automatically find some other part that's not good enough and needs fixed. I remember when I was really into restrictive eating and into some disordered eating patterns, I was really focused on this weight on the scale And once it hit that number, then I would start toning. So already I was setting myself up to like not be satisfied at just losing the weight, which by the way was a super unhealthy amount of weight, and arbitrary and all this stuff. Not only, yeah, I was setting myself to be dissatisfied. So I'd lose the weight and then I'd be too flabby and need to like start working on muscle tone. And then who knows where that would have stopped, right? And then there would have been something else, like just, yeah, it's a never ending pit. And so to me, this work is so invaluable to get past that and to heal that stuff, because it's just such an illusion that you're ever going to be satisfied as long as you're trying to like hate yourself into some way of being or looking. Okay, so sorry if I'm getting off track, but what the fuck was I saying? Oh, pick apart. That's what I'm saying is like, oh, this culture, like it teaches us to like hone in on and objectify ourselves and hone in on this one part that we don't like. So I'm sure you know yours, right? So mine variously, like I said, it's changed as I go and have different issues. I had a problem with my breasts for a while. I had a problem, but mostly what I have like violently hated about myself for a long time was my arms. Here they are, they're big. I have big fat arms. And look at me showing them on a YouTube channel. I've never done that before. I've always worked to like hide them, even though you can't hide them. Like, so I have big arms. I got the bingo wings, if you will, and it's not muscle. Like I always get these fucking comments on the street, like, "Oh, you're strong. You can kick my ass." I'm like, yeah, maybe it looks that way, but it's not even muscle. Like I can't even do a pull-up. I struggle with push-ups. Like maybe it'd be okay if it was muscle. I don't know. So I've always felt very self-conscious about my arms. The other thing is my teeth. I've got like, as you can see, some buck teeth action happening. They're kind of crooked, and I feel like they're getting crookeder as I go. Like I have had dental work my whole life, from as young as I can remember. I've had crowding and teeth pulled and headgear when I was in the 4th grade, and then braces and all this shit, and it was painful and it was grueling and it took years, and then I had a retainer. And then I was a teenage runaway and a train hopper, and I had lost my retainer and didn't have dental insurance for years, and so my teeth just started like doing their own thing again. And I feel like over the last 8 years, I can notice them getting even like, in my mind, they just are like bigger and crookeder and like taking over the whole world. So that's something that I've struggled with. And then the other one, my new favorite is my little front butt, or my little pouch right here, a little piece of my gut. I got rolls and I got that situation. And I'm loving them today. Like that I can show you these things that I'm struggling with. Like there's nothing inherently wrong with any of this. It's just my mind has told me for years that it's awful. And it has said the nastiest stuff, me saying this stuff to myself, and I'm sure you can relate. And it's painful and it's exhausting, and I'm over it. So I remember I've been struggling with this for years and years and years and years. And the first piece of this thing that I'm going to share with you, this tool, came when I was a teenager. I was staying in this punk rock squat, and there were all these punks that were older than me, and I looked up to them so much. I always hung out with kids that were like 10 years older than me. And I remember I was crying because like some guy had called me fat or whatever, and I was crying to this girl, and I was like, "Do you think I'm fat?" And then it was all this drama, like I wanted someone to tell me I wasn't, and da-da-da. And by the way, the guy who said I was fat, like, why should I have given 2 shits about what he thought? It wasn't even anyone to me. It was just some dude, right? But this is how we're taught. Like, we're taught that I only matter if a guy thinks I'm attractive. Like, it's this very heteronormative narrative. It's so infuriating. I can hardly talk about it. But if you want to know more about this, there's a lot of people out there talking about it in a much more articulate way. And so just look up like HAES, Health at Every Size, the body positive movement, anti-diet, stuff like that. And you can start to find, educate yourself if you're not familiar with like how this stuff happens, and what to be outraged about. But anyways, so I had fallen into the typical trap of like worrying about what this one guy thought and assuming everyone thought that of me, and like it needed to be my mission to be approved of all the time and to be attractive and all this stuff. So I'm crying about my whatever. I think someone said my thighs were fat or something. And I remember this girl flipped up her shirt and she showed her roll and was just like, "The fuck, so what? Do you think I give a shit about this?" And I was just floored. I can picture it as if it was yesterday. That she, to me, in my like 16-year-old insecure mind, it was the biggest, most badass act of courage to just flip her shirt up when she didn't have a totally thin, flat stomach. Oh my God, the scandal. And she had this roll and was just like, "So fucking what?" And she did not give a fuck. And I was like, oh my God. So that kind of started me on the path of like, can I be that way too someday? Because I was the kind of person that was like, I would be mortified if my shirt even crept up a little bit over my stomach. Like, there's no way, I would have fucking died, right? Like, I was carrying that kind of body shame and self-loathing and all this. So for her to just be that nonchalant, it was everything. So that started the journey. It's taken years and it's taken decades as I work on this. Never mind the fact that I was still drinking and using. So this work I might be farther along if I hadn't been actively fueling like the shaming stuff in my drinking and addiction. So really, let's just say I've been working on this for 6 years, because that's how long I've been sober, and that's how long I've been able to actually do this work with a clear head and a clear heart and actually healing stuff and not just like piling more shame on top of shame. Anyways, so then I started hearing about like, you've got to retrain your brain, and I started coaching myself and getting coaching, and I started reading about the anti-diet movement and intuitive eating and health at every size. And I learned about how you can curate your Instagram feed to get rid of the harmful images and to, suss out this diet culture messaging and start to fill your feed with images of other bodies and fatter bodies and bodies that look like mine. And that started to really help. But what I noticed was it wasn't the full answer, just finding like fatter bodies or bodies that looked more like mine, or just all different kinds of bodies. That wasn't the end all be all for me, because I was still holding out my special areas that I was ashamed of, right? And so it was like, I'd see larger women, but they still had thin arms, or I'd see larger women with fat arms, but they had perfect teeth. So I was still finding a way to like, set myself apart from them and tell myself, well, that it couldn't work for me because of this, this, and this. It works for her because of this, this, and this. So what I want to offer is finding someone, a couple people who specifically are rocking your sensitive spot, or the spot that you think is so shameful and bad. I want you to find people who have your thing. So for me, I remember when I saw Brittany Howard of Alabama Shakes, I saw her playing on a stage. It was a video. And she has big arms, and she was wearing a sleeveless dress. That was another thing that I just couldn't even imagine doing, like I still am a little weird with tank tops, but she was just rocking it, and she was fucking singing, and she was amazing, and I just can't imagine that she was up there worrying about her fat arms. Now I know that the people that I'm gonna hold up as examples that have helped me get over my shit, they might still have their own issues. I'm sure they do. Like, they're not perfect. They have their own insecurities. I'm not trying to put them on this pedestal of like, they never worry about anything ever. But it certainly isn't holding them back, or at least it doesn't to me. And that's what I really want to underline at this Try It Tuesday, this challenge. It's not about like finding some kind of circumstance to validate your existence. Like, if I can find someone that's acceptable with my issue, then I'm acceptable. It's not so much about that. But what this is an aid to help you think better thoughts that are going to help you feel better about your body. Because that's really all that's going on here is, yes, there's the circumstance of we live in a culture that really objectifies and demeans women's bodies, everybody's bodies, but mostly women's. And especially if you're like in a further marginalized population, like Black and female or Black and trans, like there's even narrower like restrictions around what you should like. And for a lot of people, even their whole identity is like not allowed, right? So just understanding that there is that pressure, there is that reality of a world that's just very intolerant of difference and variety and like stepping outside of the box that's been created. But so much of how we like feed into that or accept it or own it or struggle under it is about our thoughts, which create our feelings. So what I want to offer today is a way to help you start thinking better thoughts about stuff that are going to liberate you from all this shame and struggle and energy that you're spending hating certain parts of yourself and ultimately hating your whole self. So Brittany Howard was it for me. When I saw her in a dress and those arms and she's jamming out, I was like, fuck yeah, okay, I can do that too. And then it was baby steps, and there's other tricks and tips that I can offer about like where do you go from there. But that was a big first step. And then another thing that really happened was I love Shovels and Rope, and I love Carrie Ann Hurst, who's the female side of that band. And they did this song that just blew my mind. I was listening to it over and over and over again, called Mississippi Nothin'. And I saw the video for it, which is hilarious, by the way, but better than that, better than it being an amazing fucking rock and roll song, and it was a funny video. But I noticed she's playing drums and she's got that like pouch that I have, that belly. And I was like, holy shit, it was everything. It's like representation. It's like when people talk about like when they see their first gay person, or if they're a black person and they see the first black actor that they've ever seen, or have their first black professor, like it just feels incredible. And I feel like I was feeling something similar to that, like a body representation. Even though I had been actively seeking out like fatter, larger bodies, I still wasn't seeing someone who had like my issues. And I say issues, like I was making them an issue, but they're not a fucking issue. And to see someone playing drums, being hot and awesome on her terms with her belly that looks exactly like mine, and she's got bigger arms, I'm just like, holy shit, it was everything for me. So then I started searching on Instagram hashtags fat arms. And I want to say caution with this one. This can be very triggering because there are a lot of people with really skinny arms complaining about their fat arms. So you want to be super careful and know thyself. And I've done a lot of this work already, and so it wasn't super triggering, and I didn't get sent into the spiral of like, if she thinks her arms are fat, then mine are like monster arms. You gotta like know yourself and do the work. So I was prepared for shit like that, and it's okay, and I don't have those thoughts anymore that push me over the edge. But what I did find was lots of people with fat arms that were wearing sleeveless shirts, and they looked like me, and they were happy, it looked like, and they were kicking ass with both feet. And that's what I'm after here. And so now I'm on here being like, hey, look, I have fat arms. I have a belly. I have rolls, and I'm okay with that. And I'm not a bad person for having this stuff, and I don't need to go try to diet because that shit doesn't work. Anyways, feel like I had a lot of thoughts, and they're all kind of scattered, and this is getting long, so I want to wrap it up. But this, if I could wrap it up in a nutshell, find people with your specific, the thing you're making an issue. I've also Googled models with crooked teeth, and that's super fun. I don't necessarily have like an inherent amount of respect for models or anything. It's not like I'm striving. I have way more respect for musicians and artists, and I'm sure models are fine or whatever. I'm not trying to like, if you're a model, no offense, but I didn't mean like the profession was inherently one that like connected with me, but it does show like people that like are just smiling really big and wearing lipstick and just like enjoying their face, even with a non-traditional smile or like a non-conventionally beautiful smile. These are probably more traditional than what we're, the shit that we're fed. But my point was that it was helpful. It can just be helpful to seek out the representation. Find the thing that you think is so unacceptable about yourself, and go find other people that are not only who have it, but aren't letting it stop them, that are enjoying their lives with it, that are even making it an asset. Like, you might have heard that as a tactic, like find the feature. A lot of fashion magazines tell you to like hide the feature that you're embarrassed of, but I started to see like in the more body positive communities, people saying like, you know, play it up. Like if you've got buck teeth, like wear lipstick or whatever. And that didn't really resonate with me too much, but there was something about seeing people that looked like they had what I wanted and were rocking their life out with the thing that I thought was holding me back, or that like, if only I didn't have this, then I could be whatever. It's all thoughts, and we can be exactly whatever the fuck we want to be, and it should be amazing, and you're beautiful the way you are, and you're awesome the way you are, and your value doesn't depend on what you look like or what other people think of you. And often when we're worried about what other people think of us, it's like in our mind it's everyone, but it's really like one fucking asshole high school kid that said something nasty to us back in the day, or one closed-minded parent that likes to talk shit about our weight or something. Like, don't let your brain hold you back, and recognize that the shit that your brain is telling you that's like it's reporting as the facts or the news, it's so up for debate. You've got to challenge it. You've got to look at it. You've got to question it. You've got to prove it wrong, because it is lying to you. And you know how you know that is if you feel like shit, and if you're living a smaller, shrinking kind of life. You came here to be big, flappy, big arms and all. So hope this helped. I hope it made sense. Let me know if it did or didn't. And if you want to work with me one-on-one, or if you want to know more about that process or about me or anything, shoot me an email. I would be happy to chat with you. I'm at amandagoldmakesart@gmail.com, and you're a peach for hanging in here for 20 minutes. Thank you. You're awesome. I'll see you soon. Bye.